I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live, coming to you from Armenia, Colombia. Okay. You know, as bad as I am at this, you wouldn't know that for 5 years I had a radio show, talk radio. Okay, it's 69 degrees, it's overcast, rain predicted between 2:30 and 3 o'clock. Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Started raining about 5 o'clock, and I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning and it was still raining. That was yesterday. It's supposed to have a high of 73. Yes, it's Fahrenheit, which I had to laugh. Somebody asked me, is that Celsius or is that Fahrenheit? Well, if it was 73 degrees Celsius, that might be an issue. But anyway, bit of old news. Got sound, says I got sound. Just as I was shutting down last week, HD Chillin' dropped a dime on my channel here for a contribution. I didn't get to thank him, so I thank you today. Juka, of course, as always. I wake up, because of the time zone difference, I wake up and boom, it's already there. So you guys don't see it here, although I am able to pop it up here. He put anonymous, but it was Juka. And what else? Oh, and Mr. Anonymous, aka Jerry somebody. Also, just before we got started here, I got a video coming up. I think might be the only town I haven't done a video in Quindío. Black 007, $20. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're new to me. Lata Baida. Never did a video there. And I was there a couple days ago and I said, why haven't I done a video here? Aside from the places, you know, a crime-ridden cesspool, or at least that's my opinion. But I haven't been there in ages. So I'm going to go back this coming week, do a video. Should be out probably the week after, just to let you know. See if I can, what else is new? Met a friend for lunch a couple days ago. Most walking I've had in a long time. My shoes went on. I walked a total about 8 blocks. So it wasn't all that much. 4 blocks up, 4 blocks back. But, you know, it was great to be out. Let me go through these things. Dennis, oh, good morning, Rob. Everything before this is just about what time is it going to start. Rob, good morning. How you doing? Dennis, Paraguay. Probably should get you on, if you're willing, to do kind of an interview, mostly so you can tell me about Paraguay. I'd love to hear about it. And probably some other people are curious too. Let me know if you're up for that, and we could set that up. John, good morning from Armenia. How you doing? I'm going to be talking about some visa stuff today. I appreciate you sending me some information. So did some other people. But I went to some sources, so hopefully I can clear up some questions that came up last week. Mike, good morning. How you doing out there? I'll be seeing you Tuesday with 3 of these. You can see that. I got 3 of them for you. Yuka, greetings from Finland. How you doing? John, Montana. Well, here in California, we're getting flooded. No more droughts. Well, you know, that's good. NB90, good morning. Good morning. Did you ever find out why the Colombians and the Ecuadorians, man, are leaving the country to the United States? It wasn't a documentary. I'm not sure what you're saying, but we could talk about this next week. Ecuador in particular, I've got some things. I've talked about it in the past. Good morning. All hand pink waving. Okay. See, it doesn't, in this program here, it doesn't show me the emojis. Don, good morning from Colorado. How you doing? Next level 23. Hi from South Florida. Not used to, I think you're new. Welcome. Dennis, sure, awesome. Shoot me an email and we'll do some back and forth and figure it out. Mike, morning all from daylight savings. Yes. From Chicago, Papa. Mark, good morning. I do know how many months of proof of income you need to supply for retirement visa. Mike, awesome. Can you make some breakfast sausage? No, you have to make it. I haven't yet. And I got some of these myself. I just haven't got around to it. Mark, I believe it's 6 months. Something flashed up. I'm not seeing it, but I saw something on the corner of my eye. Somebody dropped a dime on me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. First, I want to talk about that little walk I took. Those of you who follow my videos, I've talked about Boluto Steakhouse. I've taken a number of people there for lunch, or we've gone, or they've taken me there for lunch also. So as I walked down, there's a few things that changed, which got me thinking. One of the reasons I don't redo videos in Armenia is because I've already walked pretty much all of the city worth looking at, south and north, and done videos. But as I'm walking down these blocks, I'm realizing it's been a while and a lot of things have changed. Well, the streets are basically the same and the buildings are basically the same. In some places, not everywhere, of course, but in some places, there's some major changes. And let me quickly show you this. I can't hear what goes out there, so it's I know there's some noise in the video and there's also some dry spells. So I'll see if I can talk over it. Hopefully you'll catch anything I have to say in case it's worthwhile. Okay, first of all, in this little complex here, we've always had Basilica, the Italian place, but now there's also a burger place. There's a Mexican place. The Chulita is new. There's frozen yogurt that's new. So there's a lot of new things that moved in. So that's pretty cool. And here you've got, actually, it doesn't show here, but you've got 5 new towers going up for new condos. If you know the area, you know exactly where we are. You can see the home center right behind. And Botanica is going to be the name of it. And it'd be kind of interesting to see what, I had no idea that there was something going up called Botanica. As you know, I got stuck here when I was sick and I couldn't walk, and, I was stuck in the house forever. It was horrible. But I'm free. I can't believe my feet hurt when I got back again. This is not the first time I tried to go out, but the first time I didn't get to go very far at all. My feet were killing me. This time they hurt, not as bad as the last time. Plus, 8 blocks. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket to what I was doing before. I couldn't go out and walk 2-3 hours right now, but feet can, everything is getting much better pretty quick. So that's awesome. There's also a nightclub in that place. You can go in for drinks and etc. What else we got? Okay, last week, everything started with a legit question. Before I got called an a-hole and somebody got really mad at me and typed in all caps. That's how it goes sometimes. I will want to point something out here. I'll get to the legitimate question and I'll answer it. But the guy who kind of went off the deep end, he's been following my channel for, I don't know, close to from the beginning. And, people get worked up, and I got some messages I should ban. I'm not going to ban him. He's not a bad guy. I get where he's coming from. It doesn't mean you should get all that worked up. But he was skeptical. Basically thought I was making things up and I was trying to cheat the system because I'm paying the minimum on the health insurance. And I've talked about this in a video beginning in June of 2021, where I have tried for several months worth of time. I've got emails showing, it's all in Spanish, but I've got emails. And then I enlisted Natalie to help me. Then lots of calls back and forth to Sarah, trying to get it increased. I was really worried that when I went to renew my visa, September of 21. No. That I would get rejected if I was paying the minimum. I never asked for the minimum. That's what they put me through as. And so from the beginning, it took me quite a while just to get it instated, because with COVID, the offices were closed. The website back then wasn't working for crap. And that's why, I was trying to do things with email, and I got Natalie involved. It was a pain in the butt. Things work much better now, and actually the offices are all back open, so it's a different situation. But when they established me, they established at the minimum, despite the fact that I told them that I wanted it to be the full amount, and then they take 40% of that, and then 12% of that, and you come up with the amount. For me, it would be, I'm paying 145,000 pesos, and with my income, what it should be is around 300,000. So it's not even a drastic difference really in the scheme of things. But he's basically, he didn't. No, I don't believe, because you can change it on the website. So of course, well, first of all, I just want to point out that if I were trying to hide, if I were trying to cheat the system, would I really go public on videos, on a number of videos, talking about the frustration and some of the details of what I had to go through trying to get it changed and how I could not get it changed? I would keep my mouth shut. So, I mean, just on the face of it, think guy. But let's see. Let's get to the question that started all this rolling. As of something last year, October maybe of last year, when the rule changes came in, you can no longer, as an expat, get your EPS health insurance. Is that true or not? It's not true. And she sent me the information. Now, here's an excerpt from it was actually kind of a cartoony sheet, but I don't want somebody to go back and rip on. It's an attorney in Medellin, and he put this out, but it's actually word for word, as far as you could translate word for word from the rules. So let me put this up here. So I yellowed, this visa will not allow its holder to join the Colombian Social Security system. Okay. And so that was interpreted by a number of visa lawyers in Colombia that you could not any longer get EPS insurance because it's part of the Social Security system. If you're used to living in the world of Spanish, or if you're new to it, you'll quickly learn that everything is vague. Even when they write laws, miswriting laws is a particular problem in Spanish-speaking countries. I ran into it a number of times in Ecuador. There's vagaries on a lot of things. Now, I want to show you the old website. Now, my hater, I don't think he's my hater, but he was upset. He said that there was a new website, and I went in after talking last week, and lo and behold, I'll explain that in a minute, but he was accurate. Here's the old website. And if you look on this old website, if you can make it out, on the right side of it, it says, what do you want to pay? And the first one is health. The second one is pension. Now, if you go directly over to the left, you'll see compulsory is health and pension. And then you've got the two others, compensation and something else there that are optional. So you can opt into something, but these are all part of the Social Security network. And you see, I've got it checked as health, and mine comes up there. Now, if you change your income, where it says your income, and it's 1,160,000 pesos, you can change that, and it'll change the calculation. But when you click to the next page to pay it, it defaults back to the 145. And I had looked on this many times, and there was no place to actually change what you pay in. It's locked in. When they set this up for me, with Natalie, through the phone call to somebody in Bogota out of their main office, it was set up, and that's what they set it up at. I have no way to change that. But this is the old website. Now, the confusion comes in when this says it will not allow you to join the Colombian Social Security system. And then when you look at what the Social Security system is, the first one is health, except there's also a law that makes it mandatory that you have the EPS system. They want you buying into that system to help support it. What they mean by the Social Security system isn't the system overall, they mean the pension. But they didn't say pension. And so some people interpret it as, well, they've changed the law and you can no longer get EPS. Not true. The law still exists that it's mandatory. So it'd be kind of tough. You got a mandatory law to get EPS, but then you're not allowed to have it. Which wouldn't surprise me, but that's where the confusion comes in. It was really just a interpretation of what the intent was. So there's that. And that leads to now, under the new rules, if you go to get your visa or if you go to renew your visa, will you be able to if you're set up as a minimum? So if I were to go and renew as of now, would I be able to? this same issue, the law that says you have to pay that formula based on your income, the law that says that goes back a long time ago. You always were supposed to do it, but when you would set up your health insurance, they would just set it at the minimum. They would just set everybody at the minimum, regardless of what you asked for. And hence my panic when I went to renew. I heard through the grapevine that they weren't accepting it. And I thought, well, I'm going to have all this problem. I was assured by the visa agent I work with that they're not checking that. And when I went to renew it, lo and behold, they weren't checking it. I panicked for nothing. But even then, my second time around, I was again unable to get it increased to what it's supposed to be by law. Later this week, I'm pretty busy the early part. Later this week, I will visit the Sura office that opened up again in the Mokawa building, and I'm going to drop this in their lap and see, what they can do about it. I'm going for my permanent residence. Probably September, I'll file everything. My visa is still good for another year, so I've got no time pressure on it. But probably around September, I'll start the paperwork on it. So I want, of course I want everything square. I don't want any problems. And I sure wouldn't risk, being able to live here over $20 or $30 more or something like that. I'm grateful that, they have what they have. So that's the answer to we can't get EPS anymore. Absolutely untrue. You're required to get it. Now, when you come here on your first visa, of course, you don't have it because you've got to have your visa and your schedule in order to get into that program. So that's where the requirement comes in of having some sort of travel insurance for your first 3 months here while you're processing your visa. And then once you get your visa and your cedula, which used to take a few weeks, now it's taking about a month. Once you get that done, you can go sign up for your EPS insurance, and then you're good to go for the next time around. So that's how that works. So do we have any questions about that? Now, when I got off let's see. The office workers are simply accustomed to everyone claiming the minimum. It only takes one of them to change it in the process. I believe that, and we tried to do that. I bothered this poor girl so many times. I kept saying, I really need to be this much. And then I did the formula and I sent it to her. I said, it's got to be this much. And I'd said it right from the beginning. Well, eventually, she just stopped responding to my emails. Because I'm trying to get it done. I didn't know what else to do. She would write back, and it seemed like she misunderstood me. So I would try to clarify. And then I got somebody else to write it for me. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. And I probably hit her in that time, maybe 5 or 6 emails. She just stopped responding. I'm telling you, it's not for lack of trying. I've tried. It's very frustrating. And when you go through this, at some point you just throw your hands up and, what else are you going to do? So, there's a pink hands. Cute. I've never seen those before. All right. So after last week, I'm going to go check the new website. An email's in my inbox. And the email is from some bot with a name, like Sandy or something. But it was a bot, do not reply. And it had my April thing is due, to pay sometime before the 12th of April. And so I got an email on that. Never had before. You just have to know and go in and pay it. Well, this time, because I changed the system, I got an email. So that's pretty cool. Click the link. The link did not take me to that website. The link took me to where is it? I want to show you. Where are you? New properties. Birthday new. Okay, we've got there. There we go. Not sure why that's happening. So this is a new one, and depending on what you click at the top is what shows up on the page. And so you got electronic payment, you got payment support, verify, certificates, the things that you need, you know, they want a certificate of proof. This is where you get it. So it is a different website. But I spent over an hour clicking on every link and everything at the bottom to see, because he said, no, you could change it on the website. And you cannot. I can definitively say on that website, I found no place that allows you to change it. From my understanding, and I was told this by somebody that I emailed this week, that if it needs to be changed, I have to physically go into the office and get it changed. So there's that. So I hope that makes things clear as mud for you. But the question about, we can't get EPS anymore, what do we do? Well, you not only can, but you have to. All right, what else we got here? She had her mind made up. She was right, and you were wrong, and just stopped talking to you. Very typical behavior. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's so. I have no idea what goes on in their job. I have no idea what their computer interface is in order to make a change. But you get the impression that all hell breaks loose if they change something. And I don't know why they didn't put it through at the very beginning when I laid it out for them. And it came back and it was a small amount. And I said, Natalie, you know, I said, I told her, and she showed me, and then she called her and talked to her on the phone. It is what it is, you know. I don't know what to tell you. They didn't set it up right. They won't change it. I've dealt with a number of people, email, phone, with interpreters. It's still there. So back then, the offices were all closed, and the ones you could go into. So now I can go into an office because they're open again, and that's what I'll do, and we'll see where it is. Now, in talking to my person, she's processing them and hasn't had any issue. But what she did tell me, at the minimum, but what she did tell me is that, sadly, if you're in certain places, you'll go through a different district office and you can get a different answer. So I can give it to her with the EPS information. She could process it. It comes back. It's all well and good. But let's say, for example, you're in Medellin and you go through somebody there. They go through a different office. They might be requiring it because they do the approval. Then it goes into the main office and they just do the paperwork based on whether it was approved or not. So different interpretations can happen in different offices. It's not supposed to be that way. It didn't used to be that way, but when this change came along, there was a lot of confusion. And if you were trying to get your visa during it, for a little while, it seemed like nobody had any definitive answers, particularly in the government itself. Those things are settling out. So my visa agent tells me it's still not an issue through her office, and they're not making that request at all, but it will depend on what office it's getting processed through, of how that will go. As they have changed all the requirements on renewing visa, they have given you a 2-year grace period until September, October 2024. Is that on the EPS you're talking about and increasing it? She did say that if you do make a change, if they look for it, they're not going to look back to, what have you paid for the last whatever years. They'll look for the last month. So I found that kind of reassuring too. I mean, I want it to be right, but I sure as hell don't want to go back and, 4 years and pay retroactively all of a sudden. It's like I tried at the time. So that would be kind of devastating. So she assured me that, it would be like that. Okay, do we have any other questions on what's going on with the visa? Now, what I talk about almost exclusively on the visas is the retirement visa. Now, there's another change that I'm not exactly a fan of. I've really been looking forward to getting the permanent residence so that I could be done with all this crap. Except, one, they've increased the price. Well, actually, all the prices have gone up. Not surprised. But it's substantially more for the permanent residence, and you now have to renew every 5 years. So I actually will probably sit down one day and weigh out the difference in cost versus 3 years to 5 years and see if financially there's even a benefit to do it. It kind of sucks. Sorry, not regarding EPS, just in general renewing a visa. Before you just renewed the cedula, now you have to renew the residency visa. Yeah, it does make it difficult when you have different offices and locations doing things a little bit different. Before this change came last fall, we weren't really experiencing that at all. Everything was pretty locked in. Everybody, they'd been doing it long enough to where it was very simple, and the embassy was doing half of it for you anyway. Well, now the embassy's not doing anything, so you have to do the apostille. If you're on your first visa, you got to have a police report or an FBI report from your country. Well, I mean, I guess if you're in Canada, you don't need an FBI report, but you get what I'm saying, a national database report. And that also has to be apostilled. So there are some significant changes. Those are not big deals because most every country requires that your retirement information has an apostille and that you have a police report that's certified or apostilled. It's just that Colombia didn't used to, so it was extra nice. Well, now they're kind of lining up with everybody else. Okay, I think that's all I got on the visa, and ate up a half an hour rambling on about it. I hope I didn't leave you more confused than when I began. Wasn't my intention. And so, let's see. What do we have here? We have... You're asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. Okay. No, you don't have to renew permanent resident visa, just your cedula. I just went through. Really? Okay, I'll go back and reread what I was looking at. It was getting pretty dusty. I've got the law, and I've got it in Spanish, and then I went through and I did a Google Translate, but then I went through and did a manual on anything that I thought would be of consequence. so that I can read some Spanish somewhat, enough to know what's going on, and then compare it and try to get a good understanding that way. I also got my hands on what supposedly is official translation. I kind of doubt it because it was almost exactly what Google had. But anyway, to try to understand this, I had the whole thing. And I was looking through the permanent residency, and it looked like it's every 5 years now. Because, well, the cedula you have to do anyway. I mean, you don't get a cedula and keep it for, you never did. You have to renew it every so often. Kind of like the driver's license, you have to renew every so often. But I'm pretty sure that when I was reading on the permanent residency portion, that it said that has to be renewed every 5 years. Now, I'll go back because I wasn't as focused on that as I was on the M visa for pension, trying to clarify a lot of things about that. Well, let's not get into the tit for tat kind of thing. He just went through it. And he was sending me in messages like every other day, various documents and information he got, and that went on for like a month and a half. So he's pretty embroiled in it. Robert, I'm kind of with you because I think that's the way I read it, but I also haven't gone through it. He just went through it. So let's I'll come back next week. I'll have a definitive answer on it. I don't just read it. Once I get what I think is an understanding of it, I talk to people in the government, depending on what it is. I talk to them. It's either WhatsApp or I email, and to find out what's actually going on. I think you're equally eligible for full citizenship, which would not have to be. Well, that's true. But I wasn't planning on doing that. I was planning on just going with a permanent residency. But with the change, as I think it is, maybe I'll end up doing that. I don't want to just keep going through paperwork, and God knows what they change in the meantime, and then you got to jump through different hoops the next time around. So I'm not too thrilled with it. I'm going through it at the moment. Yeah. It's a pain, a lot of requirements, stressful. Yeah, it can be. That's what I started early. I'm talking to my visa agent. She sent me off the requirements in her form and all the pricing and all of that. I want to get started as soon as possible, probably just because of the pricing. If you're here for 5 years, you don't have to come up with a police report because you're here. You do have to get movement certificates now for your renewals, which is a bit of a pain because you have to personally go to an office. But, I had to do that in Ecuador too. What really sucks there is you go to an office and then they tell you, no, it's in another office. And then you go to the other office and they send you back to the first office. And then they send you over to the office at the airport. It was maddening. They wanted a set of fingerprints. So I go to where they said the fingerprints are. We don't do them here anymore. And then they sent me to that other office at the airport. And the other office at the airport sent me to a third location. And there I could get my fingerprints. It was really crazy there. I spent 6 months of insanity dealing with that one. So, for me, I look at this stuff and it kind of rolls off my back because nothing will ever be as bad as what it was there. I wasted $2,000 chasing things that they never needed. I was when I finally got my visa there, all the stuff that I arrived in country with to begin with was at the end of the game. end of the 6 months, having to leave the country, buy another visa, all this back and forth and money spent. The stuff that I arrived with was all they ever needed to begin with. Who do I kill? Who's going to give me my money back? Who's going to give me my 6 months back? Yeah, it's just the way it goes. That's running out. I think November this year, my permanent residency there will expire. In Ecuador, you have to set foot in Ecuador before 5 years runs out. So there, your permanent residency is forever, as long as you don't leave for more than 5 years at a time. In Colombia, it's 2 years. So if you have a permanent residency and you're gone for more than 2 years, that's it. It expires. I'm missing 3 years to reach 65, and I'm going to apply for citizenship, as you do not have to take the exam, but you have to do in person in Bogota. You don't have to take the exam. If you get a chance, email me that. I'm curious about it. Anyway, yeah, it's starting to look like that may be the way to go. And then they'll come along where you can't have dual citizenships anymore. I don't know. All right, do we have any questions? Or are we gonna wrap it up here? I don't have a Bills game to run to. There's always next year. Oh, sir, 100%. A permanent residency visa that isn't permanent. Yeah, it's the way I read it too, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to argue about something I'm not 100% sure of. Correct. If you're over 65, there's no exam and requirement for Spanish proficiency. Awesome. So by the time I go to do it, my Spanish will be pretty decent. It's already useful. So of course, then I won't need it. But it's one less thing you have to deal with. So that's awesome. And I have, you have to be grateful for little things in life. When I went to get my driver's license, I didn't have to sit through any of the classes. I just had to sign in, sign out for the classes, but I didn't have to attend them. I didn't even have to show up. I could do it over WhatsApp. I guess a lot of places are still doing that, but you have to physically go in to sign in and sign out. So I got to be grateful for that. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't get the motorcycle at the same time. Motorcycles are really dirt cheap. You can pick up a little scooter for $1 - 2 million pesos. That's just a couple years old, and it would be useful. I wouldn't take it ever into El Centro or like that, but I found that there's occasions where it could be useful because they're so damn cheap. It's for $400 you can get a good reliable scooter that's only like Yamaha or Honda actual name. Why not? And then you can get little motorcycles, year or two old. The Yamaha FC, for example, the 250. I've seen those run from 6 million to brand new. They're, I think, 15 or 16 million brand new. Anyway, I have a 300cc scooter, perfect city vehicle here in Bucaramanga. Yeah, I would, in where you're living, I know where you're living, and that entire area, all the way down to the mall and up that side of the city, I really wouldn't have a problem with a little moto or a scooter. I wouldn't go into El Centro there either, but there's a lot of that city that I think you could navigate without panicking. Here in Armenia, we've outgrown the roads. There's enough money that more and more and more cars are on the road. And And motorcycles are so cheap that you got a zillion people with motorcycles. And then you also have people with motorcycles that are not legal. They'll buy the motorcycle and they'll ride them without a license. I happen to know somebody who almost died from it. Broken leg, broken spine, scars everywhere, banged up the head, and came out of it facing a 3 million peso fine from the government for not only riding the motorcycle without a license, but running into a car, causing damage there. And so, 3 million pesos is a pretty hefty fine, but it was also 3 or 4 months in the hospital. So, yeah. I swear the only people that die in accidents here are on motorcycles. And I had motorcycles my whole life. It's just a different ball game here. But here, there's places that I, like for example, I could run up to the supermarket that's about 25 blocks from me. So if you're going to walk it, you got to be dedicated. You could take a taxi or you could jump on a scooter because it's a back way to get there. And so you avoid, all the traffic and problems. Things like that would be kind of useful. Okay. If we don't have anything else, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Who was it? Paraguay? My memory's like a sieve. Dennis, please message me. Maybe we could set it up for next week. Paraguay is a place I would like to talk about. I mentioned some things about it a few weeks ago. So it'd be interesting. Maybe I can bring you on here. It'll be different. I'll have to go to the different program, but it's online. So I just have to send you a link. It's just $20 for the month. So it'd be worth it, I think, to talk to you about it. How long are you going to be there? I mean, have you moved there or are you just visiting? How long have you been there? How long you plan to be there? Well, I got a really nice comment on a video. I'm living here, been almost 8 months. I didn't know that. It's good to know. Well, it'd certainly be worth talking about. Anyway, I did a video a while back about things to do in Armenia, and this person commented, I think he's Colombian, that it was the best video on the topic that exists on YouTube. So that was very nice. It was a nice comment. It's kind of gratifying because, you do a 10-minute video and you think it's no big deal, but I don't know, it's a fair amount of work. It's a fair amount of work to do those things. Why do you think I do so many live videos now? Well, because I was landlocked. I couldn't get out of the house. I was crippled. But even then, I don't have to go through all the editing, and it just takes so much of the work out of it. All this is I start it, I do it, and it's over. All right. No more questions. Dennis, we will set up for next week so you guys know what's going to happen. We're going to have a half an hour or so discussion about Paraguay. Did you feel the earthquake? I was wondering if anybody's going to ask me that. Yes, I was awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think it was 4:13 or something like that. I'm in the second floor of the house, and it was doing one of these deals. It was I looked it up. It was a 6.3, but then the next day, all the news said it was a 5.9, and it was right near Bucaramanga. just south of it, which is several hundred miles away from where I am. But you know, I felt I didn't feel it didn't feel like anything dangerous. I mean, you could tell it was remote, but you know, you could feel it for quite a distance. But the interesting thing was, I went through the a number of different news reports on it afterwards, and there was hardly any damage anywhere. There's this one pueblo, I forget which one now. I didn't prepare something to do a formal presentation, but in this one pueblo, you see they're all shaking. All the videos they use the street corner videos, or somebody would have in their house, like doorbell cams, things like that. So they're all shaking like this. But this one, the street cracked in a whole bunch of places like a jigsaw puzzle and just kind of settled down like that. That was the most damage I saw. I didn't see any buildings collapse. If there were any, several days after, the news still hadn't put them up where I saw it. I probably looked at at least a half a dozen news reports on it, and they would show different places, different cameras. And mostly all you saw was everything just kind of moving around. But a lot of that was the camera on its mount was moving. Like if it was on a pole, you get a certain amount of sway. So it made the houses look like they were dancing around more than I'm sure they actually were. But yeah, I definitely felt it. Fortunately, construction in Bucaramanga is really good, really modern. And so even a magnitude of 6, practically on the doorstep of Bucaramanga, and nothing really happened. I mean, Turtle's on here, and he's living in one of those. Sam and Peg, see you later. I'm on the 9th floor. The building was swaying to and fro. My cat went crazy. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it was probably pretty violent there, and it probably lasted a reasonable, like a minute or so, I would bet, because you're so close to it. Maybe as much as 2 minutes. And I was in that big one in Ecuador, and it seemed like it went on forever. Then it eased up, and then it got stronger again. No damage. Yeah, see, that's the thing. People ask all the time about, earthquakes here, and you have to understand that they have some of the best earthquake standards in their construction that exist in the world. They originally adopted San Francisco earthquake standards, but then within 2 years, they rewrote it and greatly improved on it. So there's stricter earthquake standards here than if you're living in San Francisco. So it's pretty damn good. No injuries came out of it. And so, I mean, it's the one that hit Armenia years ago was considerably less strong than that one that just hit. But here it was back with the old, clay brick buildings that, just kind of collapsed on themselves. And that's where people got hurt. All right. Let's wrap it up. Appreciate you guys hanging in there. It was probably a pretty dry topic today, but I think it was an important one to at least clarify about the EPS. That's why you really have to be careful about listening to people on Facebook. And that information originated out of an attorney in Medellin. So, go to the source, read the source. That's why I hate talking about Visa. I've refused to get on and specifically lay out visas. People really should just look. The new wealth tax may prevent me from moving here full time. There is something. Hold on. Let me find it and read it. All right. I'm going to read this. let's see, it says there's little positive to report for taxpayers. The new law 2277 as of 2022. There's been significant rate increases and tightening in all areas of tax law. One exception, however, is for foreign pensioners, people who live in Colombia and receive a pension from abroad. For this group of people, the tax reform contains an extremely welcome innovation. Until now, foreign pensioners had to pay tax on their pensions received, not necessarily, but for this, from abroad in Colombia. Before the tax return, there were considerable tax allowances on pensions, exactly. However, these allowances only applied to pensions from Colombian sources. All right, let me get to the point. Under the new legislation, Colombian source pensions and foreign source pensions are treated equally. That's a big change. Accordingly, all pensions, whether Colombian sourced or foreign sourced, are treated tax-free up to a monthly allowance of 1,000 minimum salary, which in 2023 amounts to wait a minute, 42,412,000, approximately per month, $8,900. So in other words, your pension is no longer treated as an income, it's treated as a pension, and it's non-taxable up to almost $9,000 a month. That's huge. So some of the things that you had to jump through, I mean, if it was a certain amount, you didn't have to worry about it, like where I am. But when you got up around $2,000 a month, that's where things would start to kick in. And you had to navigate, well, the different rules for different things. Well, now it's just don't worry about it, it's a pension. So that's pretty good. I do understand that there were changes in the tax law for income. I haven't read it. I have the law. I haven't read it because it doesn't apply to me and most people that are on here. So I'll have to do that, because if you're coming here and you've got income other than pension, this new law, from what I vaguely understand, is that there's a big increase. So then there's a question of how much can you keep out of the country versus what you keep in the country. I understand they're looking for bank statements from your original country. How they could know or verify that, I don't know. It's questionable. But so everybody's okay there. I'll get rid of the globalist something. Not sure, but I probably agree with you, but I'm not sure your point. Victor, how you doing? I will take a look at that, and if you have anything to point me in the right direction. I tell you, reading through these laws is a nightmare. I can understand why people maybe quickly go through and come up with a different interpretation. It's like I say, they tend to be vague. World Economic Forum. Yep. All right, let's end it. Thank you all. Thanks for the contributions. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here every week. Especially thank you for being here for all those months that I was sick and dying. As you can see, I'm still full of energy, feeling really good. Although I went to get a haircut, so I didn't just walk the 8 blocks. That was at one time. Then I went out again, and I went to get my haircut. And it had been months. I had tails and all kinds of stuff. So he starts cutting my hair, and he goes, "Uh-oh!" All right, ended up a little shorter than I was planning. And did a weird thing in the back. I don't know if you can see it. First bad haircut I've gotten in Colombia. But you don't really want to hear, uh-oh, when somebody's cutting your hair. And on that note, I'll see you next week.
Oh.